The Coppin State Eagles are coming to a snowy Morgantown on Wednesday night for a matchup with the Mountaineers at Hope Coliseum, and we've got you covered here in this game preview on Mountaineer Moment. This is the Mountaineer Moment, your source for all things West Virginia football and basketball. From pregame to postgame coverage and breaking news, we've got you covered. Let's go. All right, welcome in everybody to another episode of Mountaineer Moment. My name is Troy. I'm your host here for your source on all things West Virginia football and basketball. And this episode is a game preview like we've done, I think, every game to start the college basketball season for the Mountaineers. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on these episodes, so why not keep pumping them out again, episode 106. And if you are not yet subscribed to the Mountaineer Moment, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for us, whatever platform you are on. The video form, obviously, available on YouTube. Audios, you can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. Wherever you're listening, wherever you're watching, hit that subscribe button. Toss us a like, a follow, a comment, a rating, whatever you want to do. And as long as it's 5 stars, of course. And then, just continue to join in on the Mountaineer Moment movement, as I like to call it, because we're 106 episodes in just over 3 months of work here. So we're grinding away and super appreciative of all the love and support. And again, even if you would take the time to leave a comment on YouTube, like that just means the world to me. That you would think enough about these videos to just leave a comment and give your opinions, your feedback, your thoughts. So keep on doing that. I absolutely love it. Blown away by it and super grateful. So this episode, again, is a preview of the Coppin State Eagles, who are coming to Morgantown on Wednesday night, December 3rd, for a matchup with West Virginia at Hope Coliseum. Obviously, Mountaineers were able to bounce back a little bit, or a lot of bit, however you want to look at it. Coming off of the Shriners Children's Classic down in South Carolina. West Virginia went 0-2 with a heartbreaking loss to Clemson, a game that they felt like they gave away, and then a 10-point loss to Xavier, a game in which Xavier went red hot, went nuclear from beyond the arc, knocking down 16 out of 25 from deep. And then West Virginia had a week off, Thanksgiving break. And then they came back to Morgantown for a game on Sunday, and against Mercyhurst, they beat them 70-38, and their defense was obviously stout in that one, giving up just 38 points, which is the lowest scoring output from a team against West Virginia this season. And that actually, at the end of that game, that left West Virginia ranking first nationally in fewest opponents points allowed per game with just 57.5. Since then, they've been surpassed by Northern Iowa at 55.4. But West Virginia, near the top, obviously, in the nation in defense this season. Ross Hodge, that's his calling card. That's what he likes to do. That's what he likes to see. Hopefully, obviously, West Virginia has been tested a couple times and gave up games in the 70s to Clemson and Xavier. But as we get into Big 12 play, we got our full complement of players in the fold, with Jackson Fields making his debut against Mercyhurst on Sunday afternoon. Hopefully the defense can continue to lead this team to wins and continue to lead this team, even at times that's going to struggle offensively. Well, maybe, just maybe, even in Big 12 play, this defense is going to lead you to win some games that maybe you shouldn't have just because of how stellar their defense was. That's the kind of thing we're hoping for in Morgantown this season. So on Wednesday night, again, against Coppin State, West Virginia has another chance to get in the win column. Obviously, West Virginia on the season sitting at 6-2 with just those 2 losses in Charleston, South Carolina. But Wednesday, Coppin State comes to town, and West Virginia gets another opportunity before another tough test on the horizon on Saturday. December 6th, West Virginia will face Wake Forest down in another Charleston, but this time Charleston, West Virginia, so a bit of a home game for the Mountaineers, but another game away from Hope Coliseum, and they haven't won away from Hope Coliseum yet this year. But they'll have another opportunity to do that on Saturday, and Saturday's going to come, and we're going to get there here on Mountaineer Moment. We're going to preview that game against Wake Forest. But first, standing in their way is Coppin State. So I'm going to give you just a few things on this episode, like we like to do every game preview. A few things that we want to see from West Virginia in the matchup in a game that they are expected to win. Well, what do we want to see? What would we be happy with? We're going to give you some players to know on Coppin State, who they are, just what they bring to the table, certain players and what they are as a team. Some numbers to know relating to Coppin State, and then just a little bit of backstory as to how they got here, and that's where we're going to start. So Coppin State, and they're a team out of Baltimore in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, the MEAC, and they were picked to finish last in the preseason poll, and they currently sit at 2-8 on the season. Their lone wins coming against Central Penn in a blowout fashion against a very small school in Central Penn, and then Rider, who just so happens to be the worst three-point shooting team in the nation so far this season, is Rider. Coppin State opened their season with an 83-61 loss to Maryland. Interestingly enough, because West Virginia reportedly, dominated or got a 20-point or so victory, I forget now, over Maryland in that secret scrimmage that we talked about here on Mountaineer Moment right before the season started. West Virginia beat them by 20 or so, and Coppin State lost to Maryland by 20 or so in the season opener. They also have a couple other losses that are notable on their schedule in blowout fashion to South Florida, who destroyed them, and VCU, who did as well. They lost those two games by a combined total of 93 points. Two teams that just put a hurting on the Coppin State Eagles. So that's where they're at right now, at 2-8, and coming to Morgantown to square off with the West Virginia Mountaineers before visiting the Liberty Flames on Saturday. And I mentioned that because I'm a Liberty alum myself. So Liberty got a good-looking squad this year, although they're coming off a couple losses themselves to Towson and Bradley in their little tournament over Thanksgiving. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Okay, some players to know for this Coppin State team, or some numbers, and then we'll get to a couple players, but some numbers to know. They do not shoot the ball well from beyond the arc. They rank 324th nationally out of 350, 60 teams, with just a 28.7 three-point percentage through their first 10 games. So not shooting the ball well at all from beyond the arc, and we would like to see that continue for West Virginia. Or for West Virginia to continue that trend for Coppin State. Give them fits defensively, or offensively, and wreak havoc. And don't let them get hot like Xavier did, right? I mean, if this is a team that's already struggling from beyond the arc, let's help them to continue that struggle. They're also averaging 15.7 turnovers a game, which is up there among the worst in the nation as well. So they're turning the ball over a lot, and they're not making a lot of shots from beyond the arc. Couple numbers that just stick out real quick. Another thing, just some players for you to know. The Eagles are led by a forward, Demariante Hall. He's a 6'7" senior, averaging over 10 points and almost 6 rebounds per game, and that leads Coppin State in both of those categories. Khalil Horton is a 6'8" junior out of Erie, Pennsylvania, averaging 9 points per game this season. Has spent some time with Coppin State prior to this season. He's been there a while. Point guard Hassan Perkins. He's averaging 6 points and 3.5 assists per game, but in their most recent games, he's playing pretty well. Their most recent loss to Loyola, Maryland, he scored a team-high 19 points and dished out 5 assists in 37 minutes for him. So look out for him. I believe he also scored in double figures in that previous win. Let me see here, just to confirm. They got that win against Rider that I mentioned back on Tuesday, November 25th, and he, in 32 minutes, picked up 10 points, 6 boards, and 6 assists. So a guy that has had a couple games where he stuffs that stat sheet, so look out for that. And again, those scores I mentioned already, but I see them now again. 100-50. USF doubled up Coppin State, University of South Florida, doubled them up 100-50 back on November 12th, and then VCU on Saturday the 22nd, 101-58 in that contest. So they've had their fair share of struggles, again, sitting at 2-8. And as we transition now to talking about the Mountaineers for just a couple minutes before we get you out of here for this episode 106 of Mountaineer Moment, West Virginia, one, it's important to not look so far ahead toward Wake Forest on Saturday and toward an upcoming matchup with another opportunity to play against a power conference opponent and hopefully pick up a win this time, right? You want to win that game because you're coming off 2 games in which you didn't against high-level competition. And so But you don't want to get too far ahead, right? Like I'm doing right now. Like you don't want to get too far ahead. Be in this moment, play well, adapt, learn, grow from these non-conference games that you should win. These are on your schedule for two different reasons. One reason is because, you want to get better as a team. You want to play, these games against quote unquote lesser opponents in an effort to get better and have real life, real game, real live reps against another team instead of playing against yourself all summer long and all fall long, right? Like it's an opportunity to play against another school with different looks and different challenges that they present. And so that's reason number one, you play these games because it's an opportunity to get better. And number two, like you play these games to win. And, as a team that has NCAA tournament aspirations, as many teams in college basketball do in early December, this is an opportunity to stack wins. And if we can get to win number 7 on the season, that would be encouraging, right? The more, we're running through the non-conference slate, right? There's only a few games in the non-conference left before you head off to Big 12 play with a daunting schedule. You need to stack wins because at the end of the day, where you end this season with 17 wins or 15 wins or 20 wins or 18 wins, wherever you're going to be in that range, well, this one's going to be a part of that number, just like the one against Mercyhurst is a part of that number in that win column. And so stack wins. Don't take anything for granted. Go win the basketball game and let the chips fall where they may, right, at the end of the season. But use it as an opportunity to get better. Use this as an opportunity to springboard you in to Wake Forest and then Ohio State the next weekend and then Big 12 play right around the corner. That's what this is an opportunity for. A couple more things that I'll say, personally that I'm just going to have my eye on as West Virginia, plays against Coppin State. Something Ross Hodge obviously has had to make comments on and something we've made comments on here on Mountaineer Moment over the last few episodes. With Chance Moore back and Jackson Fields back and your full complement of players, you're back in the rotation. Things are looking up, like you have everybody available. Well, where are the minutes going to come from, right? Because DJ Thomas has played well at times this season. Trace and Eaglestaff is starting to come on a little bit. You think about the guard position, Jasper Floyd, Amir Jenkins is really continuing to impress. I just had a special episode on those two guys, Trace and Eaglestaff and Amir Jenkins. You can go check that one out. I believe that dropped yesterday. And, where are these minutes going to come from? Because now you got 10 guys who are worthy recipients of playing time, if you can say it that way. How's Ross Hodge going to figure this out? So keep an eye on that, through the first 30 minutes or so, like assuming, West Virginia handles their business, but through the first 30 minutes of gameplay, similar to what it was against Mercyhurst, if this turns out to be a 20-25 point game and, the bench guys or whatever you want to say come in, what's the first 30 minutes going to look like? How much playing time is Jackson Fields going to get? How much are we going to see Chance Moore? How much is it going to be dependent upon matchups? How much is it going to be dependent upon who's got a hot hand? Different lineups that he wants to see. Like he admitted, like he's still kind of just figuring that out. And I understand it. And I feel for him because he's got to be the one to figure that out because I don't know what I would do, to be honest. Based on the depth that this team currently possesses here in 2025 and the 2026 season. It's a good problem to have. But it could be a good problem that could create bad problems if you don't play the right guys at the right time, if you can say it like that, right? Like you gotta find the right rotation, the right mixes, and the right amount of minutes to play these guys game in, game out in order for this team to have the most success that they can have. All right, and so that's a big one. In particular, keep an eye on those guys, Chance Moore, Jackson Fields, DJ Thomas, and Trace and Eaglestaff, right? Because those are, forwards, that are going to have their minutes affected because each one of them are healthy and playing and available. All right. And then lastly, keep an eye on this West Virginia defense, right? We just held a team to under 40 points against Mercyhurst. Like, let's have another incredible performance like that. Especially keep an eye on how they defend the three ball. We already mentioned that Coppin State struggles from beyond the arc, but West Virginia has had their fair share of struggles, obviously glaringly against the Xavier team in Charleston, but defend the three well. And again, I've said this in the Mercyhurst preview too, I believe, but It's not just the fact that, oh, you can't have this team go off on you from three, but I don't want to see Coppin State get 15 open looks and, make 2 of them. You know what I mean? That's not helping me, be confident in this defense. I want to see them get shut down from 3 because we're playing high-level defense on them from 3. So that's what I'm thinking there. Just keep an eye on this West Virginia defense and what they do. Keep an eye on the rotations, and then just keep an eye on, again, how this can springboard you, how these games are meant to springboard you into what's next with Wake Forest on the horizon. So that is it for episode 106 of Mountaineer Moment. Obviously, we'll have you covered post-game reaction to this game against Coppin State for the Mountaineers. So as they look to get to 7-2 with Wake Forest on the horizon on Saturday on a neutral site game in Charleston, West Virginia. Should be a fun one, but we'll see you next time here on Mountaineer Moment.